Thanks for joining us, and today we're going to talk about what's the difference between the chakras and the microcosmic orbit. So if you've ever done any kind of yoga or yoga meditation, any kind of meditation that's come out of India, you often hear about the chakras, and what are the chakras, right? So they'll talk about, oh, my heart chakra or my crown chakra or my base chakra. And there are Sanskrit names that go along with these, the Muladhara chakra, which is sort of the base of the spine, Swadhisthana chakra, which is sort of at the area of the sacrum, the Manipura chakra, which is either at the sort of level of the navel or the solar plexus, depending on who you ask, the Anahata chakra, which is at the level of the heart, the Vishuddha chakra, which is the throat, and then the Ajna chakra, which is sort of the point between the eyebrows, medulla, depending on who you ask, and then the Sahasrara chakra, the sort of crown at the top of the head. And so I too learned all about the chakras with various meditation modalities and healing methods. And so the approach to chakras is something that's very ancient in India. Chakra means wheel, which is the realization of this sort of rotating energy vortices, if you will, in the energy body. And so the idea, depending on who you ask and so on, sort of cone-like shape kind of coming out and then spinning, right? In the Indian system, there are normally 7 chakras, as I described, but in some chakral systems, they've expanded those numbers as well to, up to 11 or 12, depending on who you ask. And the thing about the chakras is that originally, or at least my understanding is that originally they were part of tantric yoga, and they were associated with deities. And so when you were tuning into a chakra, you were chanting to that deity, kind of responsible for that chakra. And so that's a very ancient tantric methodology for meditation with chanting in the chakras. Later, psychological classifications started to be used for the chakral system, and I believe that happened around it was maybe the late 1800s or early 1900s, where psychology started to get in the mix, and coming out of Freud and Jung and so on. And so what they started to do, and many people started associating psychological tendencies with the chakras, and that became sort of something that got universally accepted in India as well. And so the chakral systems that we have today are not this sort of pure ancient wisdom kind of thing. They're a mix of different cultural permutations, if you will, different cultural injections for how these things operate. Now, as I've shown in other videos, you can actually learn to feel the energy in those energy centers, in those chakras. And it's because your body is basically, you have an energetic system, if you will, an energetic architecture in which you can feel the subtle energy that is interpenetrating the physical. So I'm not disputing that, but as far as, a lot of people will have an approach to yoga or meditation where they you need to balance your chakras and these kind of things, as if the chakras is some kind of these objects that we could manipulate and then get a corresponding effect. And that may be the case to a degree, but really when you look at things in a deeper level, the chakras are really part of a energetic architecture. It's not just one chakra being responsible for one thing. They are actually major acupuncture points or major meridian points where there's a flow, like having a junction, if you will, where there's multiple roads coming together. And so that flow of the life force or chi would be flowing through it. So in Chinese medicine, you have the 12 meridians, you have the 8 extraordinary vessels, and these are all sort of reservoirs and channels, if you will, of the life force of the chi. And the thing about the chakra system is it's only one part of that entire energetic architecture, and people will tend to get obsessed with the chakras. Let me balance this chakra, let me balance that chakra. This chakra is responsible for all your heartache. This chakra is responsible for your ill health. That kind of approach. people make these very generalized assumptions of what the chakras can do, and really you got to think about it as an entire energy system. And so this is why in Taoist internal alchemy, it's much more comprehensive than just a chakral system, because the chakras, the major chakras that I've talked about, those like 7 or up to 12 and so on, run along what we call the microcosmic orbit. And the microcosmic orbit are 2 of the 8 extraordinary vessels basically in Taoist internal alchemy and in Chinese medicine. There's these energy reservoirs that basically run through the body. So the microcosmic orbit basically runs like in a very simplistic level, basically from the top of the head all the way down to the perineum along the center line, and then up the back along the spine from the perineum all the way up to the top of the head. So that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. But if you see this sort of energy circuit, if you will, running down the front along the center line and up along the spine to the top, you can see that all the major chakras that they talk about, or at least the majority of them in chakral systems, are along that microcosmic orbit. And so it's true that you might have either a stagnation of the life force in a certain area, right? So you could say, oh, my throat chakra, is all blocked and whatever, right? It's true you might have a stagnation in there, but just working on that chakra in that area alone is maybe not the origin of that. It's related to the whole circuit of that microcosmic orbit. The microcosmic orbit is much more than a chakra. You could think of it as a unified chakra that is basically unifying the energy of the back part of the body and the front part of the body. And in Taoist internal alchemy, we talk about the front part of the body as being sort of yin, or kind of a negative charge, if you will, and the back part as being more active, a sort of yang energy. And so there's this flow between the front and the back all the time. And if you want to balance your chakras or balance your energy, you don't have to worry so much about the chakras as the entire, unified circuit of energy. That's what you want to harmonize. And so often what people have is they've got sort of an impediment of flow of the life force along this basically these 2 major meridians, right? The Renmai and the Dumai. The Renmai is the front, the Dumai is the back. And this polarity, if you will, of the back being positive and the front being negative, helps to create this circuit that keeps it dynamic, right? The energy is flowing then through the 12 major meridians, going and nourishing all your organs, all your vital functions, and that kind of thing. So that's really, where you want to put your emphasis if you need to balance yourself. Just working on the chakras themselves is not going to do that. And I know this for a fact because, I have a background as well in pranic healing, and it's all about the chakral manipulation and that kind of thing. And what we found is that we could, if somebody had a localized effect in a certain area, we could work on their energy body, get some improvement, but then later when they would come back, it was off again. And we're like, okay, what's the origin of this? Why is there this imbalance here in the energetic architecture, right? Why is there this imbalance? Well, it was because the chakra we were working on wasn't really the source of the whole thing. We needed to do something with the entire system. But it's a very complicated process if you're working as a healer to do it for somebody else. It's better and much more effective if people learn to do it for themselves, right? So balancing the energy in the microcosmic orbit is a key component of Taoist internal alchemy, and that's what we teach. One of the things that we teach at Modern Kriya, we use that Taoist internal alchemy approach and the recognition that microcosmic orbit is way more comprehensive and way more effective for balancing one's energy than working on any particular chakra. So if you are, learning a particular meditation approach or whatever, and they're like, you need to do your chakras and that kind of thing, like it is really quite incomplete as far as, being able to get your energy flowing in a harmonious way. Instead of focusing on chakras, what we do at Modern Kriya is we focus on the microcosmic orbit. So any imbalances along the way in the orbit start to get harmonized as we move the chi, the life force, through. So that's one of the crucial things that we teach at Modern Kriya. So if you have any questions about this video, feel free to send me an email at info@modernkriya.com. Also check our website at modernkriya.com and our YouTube channel. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.